Welcome back to another episode of Only Copilot Fans. I'm your host, AJ Ansari. Today, I'm going to talk to you about declarative agents in Copilot Studio. First, I'll explain what declarative agents are and how they're different from custom agents. And then I'm going to talk to you about the differences between declarative agents that you create in Copilot Studio's Lite experience versus those that you create in Copilot Studio Full Experience. Let's go. So before we talk about how to build declarative agents, let's first understand what they are and how they differ from the agents that you typically build inside of Copilot Studio. On my screen here on the left-hand side, I've got the declarative agents column, and on the right-hand side, I've got a custom agents. Let's talk about what sets them apart. Declarative agents are created from Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat using the Copilot Studio Lite experience. This is a recent renaming, previously called the Agent Builder experience. Once you've built this agent, you would deploy that in your Microsoft 365 Copilot Chat or any Microsoft 365 apps. It's primarily designed for personal use, although it can be shared by the maker with other individuals or across the entire org. Because it's made by an individual, it is not centrally managed. However, with Agent 365 announced at Ignite, you will be able to see this agent in the agent registry at large. What's different about these agents from traditional agents you've been building is that they're designed primarily to surface knowledge. You ground them with knowledge sources, whether it's a file, your SharePoint library, something in Teams, a public website, your OneDrive, but does not have access to any tools. So if you wanted to connect this to data from an external app or a system, you wouldn't be able to do that. When you compare what you're seeing on the left-hand side to the right-hand side of my screen, traditional agents that we build are called custom engine agents. These are created from the Copilot Studio Full Experience, which is basically copilotstudio.microsoft.com. You can deploy them in any number of channels, whether it's M365 Copilot Chat, Teams, Facebook, Slack, your website, web apps, etc., and you can choose from a variety of authentication options. These agents are created for organizational use and can be centrally managed from the Agent 365 registry. Now, what's really powerful about these agents is they support knowledge sources, connectors, MCP tools, your Power Platform connectors, custom connectors, prompt builder, etc., and agent flows, which are flows that are designed specifically for use inside of Copilot Studio. And they can also connect to Dataverse. And you can select your own data models. There are a variety of models from OpenAI, as well as models that are external from Anthropic Cloud. And you can work with enhanced instruction sets, to reference tools and topics, etc., in the instructions that you're creating. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. You don't just have one type of declarative agent. Not only can you create declarative agents from inside of Copilot Studio Lite, there's another experience which allows you to create declarative agents inside of the Copilot Studio Full Experience. So from copilotstudio.microsoft.com. Well, if you're wondering, wait, doesn't that just make it a custom agent? No, these are actually declarative agents, and you create them a little bit differently. Now, here's what's different about them. You can deploy them in M365 Copilot Chat and in Teams, but not in other channels. You are creating them for organizational use, so you can share them with a user, a group of users, or everybody across your organization, and you can manage them in Copilot Studio as well as track inside of Agent 365 Registry. Unlike declarative agents that you create with the Copilot Studio Lite experience, you do have access to tools. So you can connect to Power Platform connectors, MCP tools, custom connectors, or to prompt builders. And when it gets to knowledge, it gets even more interesting because it does not support all the same knowledge sources that are supported by declarative agents that are created in the Copilot Studio Lite experience. So for instance, I can't upload my files, but I can take files that are part of SharePoint. I can connect to Dataverse, but I cannot connect to a public website. I can allow it to ground itself on knowledge from the entire internet if I need to. So you can see that there's some nuanced differences between the two experiences. With that, let's get started creating some agents. So first, we're going to create an agent with Copilot Studio Lite experience. So naturally, I'm in m365copilot.com where I can find my M365 Copilot chat. And here, I've got the new agent option. When I click it, I can either describe to build an agent or I can configure. So here I'm going to say you are an agent that answers questions about Microsoft apps and services from the Microsoft Learn library. Always provide citations. Going to ask me for a name, and I'm going to call it MS Learn MCS Lite. So let's hit enter. On the right-hand side, it's created some suggested prompts. On the left hand, it's going to keep asking me for more. Let's skip that and let's go straight to configure, just to verify everything that we have. My name, my description, some baseline instructions. And here I can start adding knowledge, whether it's a SharePoint document, some Teams chats, or my emails, a public website, upload a file from my device, or attach cloud files. Let's go ahead and for website, let's type in learn.microsoft.com. And I can tell it search all websites, which is ground itself on the entire internet. I don't want to do that, or only use specified sources. And if I check this, it's going to choose my documentation or my knowledge sources over its general knowledge. I have some light capabilities that match the code interpreter. I can generate visuals and create code snippets, etc. Or I can also analyze data and can also create or generate some images for you. Let's create my agent. And once I'm done, it will tell me my agent was successfully created. And you will see there's a share option to share my agent with somebody else in my organization or everybody across the organization, and then I can share the link with them, much like I would share a file. Here I'm going to cancel, and we're going to go to the agent. Now, on the left-hand side is where the agent is going to display. I see MS Learn MCS Lite, and if I want to always find it under the agents list and not have to go through my all agents, I can pin this here. Before we run any testing, let me show you something really quick. If you go to the all agents area, here you have something called your agents, and this is where this agent is going to appear. Now, let's go back and we can start asking some questions. So what are storage limits for OneDrive, for instance? So here it's looked up some information and it's telling me where I can find more details with a link to Microsoft Learn. So this is how simple it is to create a declarative agent in Copilot Studio Lite. If I want to make any other changes to this agent, I can always click the three dots and click on Edit. And if I don't want to use this agent anymore, I can always go to Uninstall and remove it. Let's talk about the second type of declarative agents. These are agents that are created in Copilot Studio Full Experience, copilotstudio.microsoft.com. So let's go straight over there. For those of you who have not been to Copilot Studio in a few days, we've had a major UI refresh. I have an article about it on onlycopilotfans.com, as well as a video on YouTube, and you can check those out. Now, you may be tempted to start creating a new agent, and that's not what you want to do. Clicking here would create a new custom engine agent. What you instead want to do is either look for in the recent agents, if you've used it before, M365 Copilot, or go to Agents and scroll down until you see the Copilot logo and it says Microsoft 365 Copilot. If you click over here, you're going to see a separate list of agents. These are declarative agents and not custom engine agents. I've already got one in place, but let's make the one we're trying to create. So we'll first give it a little description. You are an agent that answers questions about Microsoft app functionality from Microsoft Learn documentation. Now, because this agent can also work with tools, let's give it the ability to show me a list of my customers. You're also capable of retrieving customer lists from our backend system. At this point in time, it'll generate some instructions and it'll ask me what I'd like to call this agent. Let's call it MS Learn CS Full. And I can change my language. That was not an option available to us in the earlier declarative agent example. And I can just hit create and the agent is going to get created. All right, the agent has now been created. Now, for those of you who have created agents before in Copilot Studio, this looks similar, but not exactly the same. You're not seeing any of the menu items up top over here to track analytics or activity or your channels, etc. But you do have a test and a publish button. I have my agent name, my description, my instructions, and then I can go and add some knowledge. So let's take a look at the knowledge sources. When I click on Add Knowledge, you'll notice this looks a little bit different than what you're used to seeing in Copilot Studio. You have only three choices: SharePoint, Dataverse, and Dynamics 365. You don't have the ability to upload a file. You're not seeing an ability to list a website. Dataverse only supports the standard tables and not virtual tables. If I wanted to connect to Microsoft Learn, I've basically hit a dead end because Microsoft Learn's a website. But here's where it gets really interesting. Microsoft Learn also has an MCP server, which allows me to connect to it via tools, and then I'm able to retrieve all kinds of documentation and related information from there. So we're going to go to Tools, and if you do not see it up in the suggestions area, just start typing Microsoft Learn MCP, and you can see that. And here I'm going to click on this tool, and I will say Add and Configure. And now it's been added. And what I'll also do while I'm in the tools area is add a tool to get a list of customers from another connector. So here I will leverage Business Central, add and configure. Let's click on this and make a couple of changes. Find customers, retrieves records from the customer table in Dynamics 365 Business Central. And here I can choose which credentials to use and populate the inputs. I will pick my custom API library from only Copilot fans, which you can find on GitHub, and connect it to my list of customers. Now, just a little note, you also have the ability to add new tools. I can build another prompt builder tool, create a custom connector in Power Apps, or I can work with REST APIs. Some suggested prompts are shown as well. And let's just go ahead and get this published. As I publish, I can give a short description, a long description, my developer name, and I can put in some other important URLs about the website privacy statement and terms of use, and I hit publish. All right, so it's now completed, and you see I've got the opportunity to show this to my teammates or to shared users or to anyone in the org. If you say show to everyone in the org, then it is going to require administrative approval, and that's done through Agent 365. Let's take a look at how you would do that. I'm going to click on show to everyone in the org. It gives me a quick message notifying me that I can also pre-install this for users, some or all of them in my organization. Here it's being routed to the administrator through Agent 365. I can see that this is waiting for approval. Let's hit done and head to Agent 365. What I'll want to do is go to Overview, and there's a section here called Pending Requests for Agents. And this is where my MS Learn MCS full agent is. Let's click on Manage Requests, and we can click here, and you see some information about who's created the agent, etc. We can call the published action. And here you have the opportunity to decide who gets access to your agent, all users or specific users or Entra groups. And you can also choose if some users or groups or everybody will have this agent pre-installed in your environment. So we can say, yes, I want to have this available for all users, and let's not have it pre-installed for anybody. Next, and publish. This takes a few minutes, so we're going to fast forward, and then I'll see you on the other side. There you have it. It's been published. Let's go hit done. And if I go to the all agents list under registry, I see MS Learn MCS Full created with Copilot Studio Full, and the other one we'd made, MS Learn MCS Lite, created with Copilot Studio Lite. You can see this is deployed for both Copilot and Teams, and this is deployed just for Copilot. Now here it could take about a few minutes before these agents start showing up in M365 Copilot Chat or in Microsoft Teams. So let's go to M365 Copilot. And let's do a page refresh. Go to all agents. Here you have your agents. You have built by Microsoft. And then if I scroll down more, there is a built by your org section. At this point, it's not visible. So let's try again. After about a minute, I refreshed again, and I see now MS Learn MCS Full is available for us. Let's click on it. And you see I've got the option to add, and this agent has been added now. And I see it in my navigation pane right alongside the MS Learn MCS Lite. So now let's ask it some questions. I've got some suggested prompts down here. I can pick one of the questions from the suggested prompts. Say, how do I use the facilitator feature in Microsoft Teams? Let's try that. Going to run through the documentation that it has and give me some answers from there. I can ask it for best practices, etc. Now we can ask another question where our agent generates a list of customers from our backend system. Here we'd connected it to Business Central. So let's just pick the latest customer list from our ERP system. When I click go, it'll ask me to allow it to connect to Business Central with my credentials. Say allow always. And here you go, my list of customers. So that is how easy it was for us to create declarative agents using the Copilot Studio full experience. Let's also take a quick look at this agent in Teams. Now here I am in Teams. I'm going to go to my apps area and click on Get More Apps, and then click on Build for Your Org. And here you go. MS Learn MCS Full is available. I could click on it and add this, open it, and here I am. We're now talking with the MS Learn MCS full agent, and we can ask it all the same questions we're asking from the M365 Copilot chat. So that is how you work with declarative agents. Now, there is another type of declarative agent, and that requires the use of Microsoft Visual Studio Code. So if you're not a developer, that's really not something you're going to look at. But for people who are interested, I'll be making a video on that very soon. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, drop them in the comment box, or you can send me a message on LinkedIn. If you haven't already done so, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and tell your friends about Only Copilot fans. And I look forward to seeing you on our next video. Have a great day.